Hey, 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 it is Friday. Can you believe it? This month is just racing by. Racing by. It's Friday, what, January 17th? Am I right? Am I right, Marco? I'm losing track of the freaking days here. And I think it's just because, January's over halfway over and we're just like in the grind. I see so much happening in the martial arts. And before I do that, let me introduce myself. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps, where we, as a collective, small business owners, in particular martial arts school owners, get together, try to figure out this thing called life, looking all the different aspects of our business to better it, to make it more profitable, to make it work for us versus us working for it, and create our version of success. So let me begin by thanking my sponsors, of course, as always. Without them, there'd be no show. Tucson Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. All services I actively use, all people I know personally, all people that are changing our industry, influence our industry, and helping impact school owners all over the world. If you need any of these great companies, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to share my thoughts on them with you. What do we got coming up, Marco? We got the It's Time Group Mentoring, which is rolling every month. You can come aboard, check it out. If you want to hop on for a discovery meeting at no charge and just see what we do, definitely put it in the comments. Let Marco know, DM any of us, and we'll get you hooked up to join us for our weekly meeting, and you can begin to check out what it is that we do. What I love about it most is that we are active school owners like you. We don't sit in a glass house and hypothesize. And it's very humbling. Me and Marco were just talking about that. We're in the process of revamping the curriculum. And I was standing on something, and the guy said to me, we teach this more than you do. I think we know a little better. And that was very humbling because they do teach it more than I do, a lot more. So they know when it works and they know when it doesn't work. So, when the day's done, it's only my ego that wants to say I'm the ninth degree black belt. I'm the mega master of the master. And, my way or the highway, you should listen to me. It's very humbling, but it's the way I set up the business. I could be at basketball games, soccer games, home for dinner. This business works for me. So if it's working for me, then I need to work for it as a level 5 leader, as the architect, by listening to my team and implementing the ideas that they offer me. Right? So in the It's Time Group Mentoring, you're going to get this co-op of school owners that are in the trenches every day, testing things and not just hypothesizing, saying that I've cracked the code and, I've figured out the Holy Grail. It's simply not true. I mean, for what we do, to be actively teaching all the time is super important. That's why I'm very, not leery, but I'm very mindful of the consultants that I personally work with. Because if you don't get me, you don't do me, you don't have any idea, how can you advise me with some universal philosophy that simply you took from Tony Robbins via Grant Cardone via Gary Vee and then rewrite it and regurgitate it through ChatGPT and call it your own? When the day's done, I think what makes a great consultant as a great business owner is you're in tune with everything. You got to be in tune, and you can't do that, from 1,000 miles away sitting in a glass house. So again, be mindful of that. And I think with It's Time Group Mentoring, I'm just so proud of what we're cultivating, and it's reasonably priced. And that was really the big thing for me. My personal mentoring program was way too expensive for a lot of people that I wanted to reach. I really want to reach a lot more small school owners because you are the backbone of our industry. You make up the majority of our industry. So I believe if we can help the small school owner get to that level, the industry as a whole will rise. You with me? So if you want to know about the It's Time Group Mentoring, DM Marco, myself, Monique, or Jason. And then, of course, It's Time Live Freedom. Freedom is a big thing after purpose. I realized once I cultivated a purpose, it gave me the clarity to create the freedom I experience today. The freedom time-wise, especially time-wise. The freedom of time to me is real important right now. With teenagers, they're growing up, they're going to be moving out, the time I have left on this earth, all of it. So to me, the freedom of time is probably the most precious commodity that I've been blessed with today. So freedom is all about that, doing the things to cultivate that freedom. And you know where it begins? Free your mind. In the words of En Vogue, Free your mind and the rest will follow. You have to free your mind from the dogma of the conditioned thinking that you suffer from. You think the same old way, you get the same old results. So freedom's about that in the 4-day experience. 20 school owners, 4 days, that's all you get. You need to be there. And I know it's not until November, but we only have 20 spots. They're already starting to book up. I recommend you sign up today, not tomorrow, today. You got it? All right. So, what is it all about today? Well, it's about your warm up, right? Let's think about that key word, warm up in a children's martial arts class. Hey, what's up, James? Who else do we have here? Bob Poole is here. I forgot to say that. Anybody coming aboard, say hello. Tell me who you are, where you're tuning in from. I would appreciate you. I know a lot of people watch the broadcast, but I'm always really, really grateful for people like James and Bob that physically hang out with me. That way I don't feel like I'm just talking into an ether. I feel like I'm talking with you, and that just fills my heart with so much joy. So if you are here, let me know that you're here. Tell me where you're tuning in from, and it's a good day. Um, let's see. Brannon Beliso. One single operations. This indicates that the franchise. Yeah, okay. Yep. Yep. As of December, there are approximately 29,700. I'm going to read this, Marco. There's some good stuff going on here. Tell me what's going on here. Martial arts schools in the industry of those about 6,325 or 20% are part of the larger brands of franchising. Right, right. The remaining 23,000, 78% are single owner operations. That's true. That's true, you know. That's true. And that's because I'm dedicated. That's why I'm so dedicated to you, because we make up the majority of this industry, but we think differently. That's why a lot of the franchise practices do not apply to us. Do not apply to us. Do not. We're actually shooting ourselves in the foot because we're not elevating that unique quality because you are a single owner operator, mom and pop. But there's different behaviors that come with that that can be very detrimental. And I'm in that balance zone, right? How can I leverage that? Because it is part personality if you're just a single owner operator, but how do you mitigate that and make this a business that works for you so you can have the freedom to teach when you want to teach versus having no freedom because you have to teach, right? So there's a delicate balance. So I find I've adopted many of the franchise practices that enhance the fact that we are only two schools, that enhance that, not take away from it and make it a sterile environment where we behave like a corporation and treat people like a number. So huge difference. So thank you for that, Marco. I appreciate that. Miss Moeek. What's up, Miss Moeek? One of our partners, friends, consultants. I don't like that word consult, you know. But Miss Monique is part of our It's Time group mentoring. If you are a school owner, especially those that are women centric, reach out to her. I think what we're doing is really special, and you may want to be part of that. So, getting back to the warm up, you know, I think the big thing about that is understanding the purpose. You are warming people up, right? And the big mistake I see right away is that people constantly change their warm up, constantly, right? They want to change it up. They want to change it up. They want to change it up. Well, back in the early 2000s, when I took the American College of Sports Medicine certification, it was a 4-day thing, very intensive. I had to study like, I don't know, 40, 50 hours before I even took this 3-day test. They really stressed that you don't want to throw a lot of changes at people in the beginning. Why? Because the body is not acclimated. The body's not ready to, as far as the biomechanics, to do 50 new things it's never done before. But I don't know if it's an ego thing. I don't know if the instructor is bored. I'm not 100% sure why that is, but people take a lot of pride that they change their warm up all the time. All the time. Now, never is not a good word either. Should you do it once a year? At the minimum, every 6 months, sure. Um, every quarter, depending upon what the curriculum you're teaching, potentially. Just don't let it be this haphazard, random behavior of I'm not in the mood today to do push-ups, so I'm gonna have everybody do a billion jumping jacks. I've witnessed that too with schools. So I can applaud one of our It's Time group mentoring people, Sunjay. and she owns Rita Ranch Martial Arts, and she's made so much headway on her warm up already. She really has, and I'm proud of that. I think the simple awareness that this warm up hasn't been revamped in like 20 years is a good reason to at least pay attention and look at it, and not scrutinize it. Build upon the strong things and eliminate the weak. Second, I think a big part of the warm up is answering this question: is it age specific and skill level specific? We know for a fact majority of children cannot do a push-up. Cannot do a push-up. Majority of children cannot do a sit-up. But that doesn't mean we should take them out altogether. Stay with me on this. And the reason I feel strongly about a child having the confidence to do a great push-up, do a great jumping jack, do a great sit-up. I have kids that are athletes, not just black belts, athletes. And I'm going to tell you, when they go to tryouts, what do the coaches check them out for? Jumping jacks, push ups. They want to see what level of athleticism that they have. And a good way to weed out who you're going to look at and who you're not going to look at are the people that can do fundamental calisthenics. So I believe socially, and this is me, and again, I'm a parent, so I'm not just making this stuff up. I go to these tryouts with my kids from the time they were 4 years old, clear up today, and they're 13 and 16. One's a star soccer player, one's a star basketball player, right? I witnessed that at all these different tryouts at 5, 6, 7, soccer, gymnastics, futsal, basketball, all these different things. Guess what? They always do jumping jacks and push ups. Not so much sit ups all the time, but I've seen that too. So, strategically, principle wise, we share that actively with our parents that we believe a child should be able to do a good push up and jumping jack so they're socially confident in other fitness environments. You with me? And I think that's powerful. At least it's a reason versus no reason. Then, of course, I went down the rabbit hole of Chat GPT and asked him, Chat GPT, what are the top 10 warm ups for children age 6 to 11 and why? And why? Guess what was number one? Jumping jacks. When we shoot our reels and different commercials and Facebook ads and stuff for our clients at Kin Creative, I know for a fact what are parents looking for in a children's fitness in a children's activity. Number one, fitness. Fitness. And what is most identifiable? How do you say that? How do most people identify with fitness? It's a jumping jack. If you take a mom, right, who has a 6-year-old kid and she doesn't know martial arts from jujitsu to karate to kung fu, whatever, she will know a jumping jack. So when we cut our commercials at Kin, one of the things we always include is a push up or a jumping jack. It satisfies that need. Second, what is a parent after? Safe and supportive. Okay, this is a big one. This is a big one because we've had people actually hurt themselves doing a push up. Write that down. I'm going to get it back to that one in a minute. So that it needs to be a safe warm up. Okay, cool. Cool. I get it. Next one, super important, is the life skills component. So whatever life skill that we're on, this week we're on focus for a 2-week period. So while someone's doing a push-up properly, we will say, look at little, Susie. I like how her back is straight. I like how she's touching her chin to her chest to the floor. She has awesome body focus, right? I like little Jimmy. He did that jumping jack right away when I asked him to. That is awesome ear focus, sir. Make sure you do things right away when your parents ask you to. So we're mindful that whatever life skill we're working on, we try to weave it into every element of our class teaching. So be it the warm up, the actual curriculum, the game at the end, dismissing class, that life skill of focus is being interwoven into everything that we do. Okay, so it's safe, it's got fitness, it's got a life skill, and then supportive. Supportive. If you see somebody not doing a push up really, really well, what can you say? I love how little Jimmy's giving 100% effort. Keep it up, Jimmy, and pretty soon that push-up's going to be a level 10. See where I'm going with that? Or I can compliment Jimmy. He is doing his best. I can tell by his effort, not giving up. There's an example of supportive. Get down right next to the kid and do the push up with him. So I think that's important as well. So write that down, right? Safe, supportive, fitness, and life skills. Those are the four primary things any parent is looking for when they choose an activity for their child. And if you can interweave that into your warm up and every other element of your class, then the experience you're creating will fulfill that need, right? That's what I'm looking for. You fulfill that need. I'm a happy camper as a consumer. Cool? So, what do we got so far? Don't change the warm up. Keep it age level and skill level specific. Make sure it's safe, supportive, has that life skills element, and definitely speaks fitness all day long. Cool? All right. Anybody coming aboard, say hello, tell me who you are, where you're tuning in from. I would love you. I'd love you. Marco, send those stats over to me too. I want to use them for a blog or a post and make sure it's a reliable source. Where you got that from? Give me the source. Okay, so when we talk about safe, if I know a child needs to learn a push up, do I begin with a push up from a plank position? No. I would sit that child down, kneel them down, say, okay, we're going to practice. Say it's my 3 and 4 year olds. We're going to do a lion push up. Who could sit like a black belt? Put your hands out like this, bend your arms, and when you push away, roar like a lion. Roar. Bend your arms like this and push like a lion. Roar. And we'll repeat that several times. Is that all we do? No. Next thing we do is say, okay, show me a table, which is fundamentally a plank. So they make the push-up position and they simply hold it. Nothing more, nothing less. Why? They're developing the core strength, the leg strength, the lower back strength, the preliminaries to be able to do a push-up. So there's the next level. I can go a step further. I can lay them flat on their belly with their hands here and say, okay, let's push up and roar like a lion. Roar. Now drop on your belly. Push up and roar like a lion. Roar and drop to your belly. So then again, so you want to work it up to that point. Would I be willing to do push-ups on their knees? Absolutely. Would I take them over to the pony wall and have them use the pony wall and do a push-up? Absolutely. All those things, I believe, will offer you that opportunity to give them the social confidence to do a push-up in PE class, when they try out for a soccer team. All that needs to be there. Same thing with the jumping jack. It's not uncommon to have a kid put his hands behind his back. We say open, and they jump with their feet apart. Close, they jump back with their feet together. Open, they jump with their feet apart. Close, they jump with their feet together. And they'll do that several times. Then guess what? Without moving the feet, we do the hands for a jumping jack. Then we call out triangle, and everybody jumps with their feet apart, hands above their head, and we say triangle. We say I, they bring their feet together, put their hands on their side, and look like the capital letter I. Again, if I understand that a jumping jack and a push-up are universal ambassador of any calisthenic, any fitness across most fitness platforms and activities for kids, it's something I want to zero in on. I think the big mistake, which leads to lower self-worth and self-esteem, is that you try to make them do a full-on push-up right away. And then somehow sarcastically, you criticize them because they don't know how to do this push-up properly from day one. So any warm-up that you do, be mindful, is it age and skill level appropriate? Hey, Conrad. What's up, Conrad? Respect martial arts. How's everything down in Southern Cal? You guys okay? And I've been monitoring that. I have a lot of friends in SoCal, and it's just horrible, the fires. For some people, I just can't imagine. Right? I just can't imagine. But my prayers and thoughts are definitely with everybody in SoCal. Jason Smith, Believe Martial Arts. What's happening, sir? What's happening? What's happening? So for me, we're really zeroing in. I'm revamping our warm up right now too. And we do things like finger push-ups. We do finger push-ups. We do wrist push-ups like this. We did this one where your hands are fully over your head and you're bouncing off your abs. And it's actually an ab strengthening exercise. We do another one that looks like the downward dog, where you take your nose and put it down to the floor into this triangle, and you're in the downward dog position. All that stuff, as much as I can proudly say I can do all of those push-ups, I don't think it's appropriate for a kid. Probably not appropriate for anybody. It has no self-defense value. It has no growth value. It's simply something we've done since the beginning of time. The beginning of time. We even do a push-up where you bounce from your knuckles to your fingers and to your wrist. One knuckle, push off, land on your fingers. Down, up, push off, land on your wrist. Down, up, push up. And, cool. My black belt test, my dad took a household brick and shaved it down to a point. And then you had to sit like a tripod and balance yourself on this brick and do push-ups like this. Go look at it. It's at my black belt test at YouTube. So all that stuff existed, but is it age level and skill level appropriate? And as my guys keep throwing at me, does this benefit the child? Does it improve their experience? Does it realistically make them stronger? On and on and on. As much as the nostalgia of doing some of these really, 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 intense push-ups and stuff, is there really value for today's child? Well, kids are weak. We got to make them strong. I understand that, but ask them to do 20 full-on push-ups correctly right away, I think it is a very moot point, and it doesn't serve the child, right? And it definitely frustrates the instructor. I have people in year 3, year 4 that still can't do push-ups right because we have 50,000 push-ups, 50,000 ways, and we're not taking them from day one and nurturing them to being able to do a great push-up. You with me? Who's with me? Boom. So again, when we talk about, what you do in that warm-up, make sure that it's taught to them in a progression, not simply do jumping jacks because it's the warm-up and it's not valuable. No, your warm-up is very valuable. Tell me why. Who can tell me why our warm-up is super valuable? Tell me why. Who could put it in the comments? And while you do that, please, if you're coming aboard, it warms my heart, Conrad, to see you're here, to say, hey, Jonathan, Impact Martial Arts. What's up, my brother? Right? Impact Martial Arts out in Hayward, California. I love that you guys are here. So appreciative. So appreciative. Yeah, it sets the tone of the class, Conrad. You are 150% right. I storyboard everything, Conrad. And for me, the warm-up is like the opening scene of the movie. Music's blaring. People should be rocking. It should be fun, exciting, engaging, right? And it starts with the instructor. Dave Kovar said this to me. Attitude is contagious. Who has caught yours today? So if I start out that warm-up, I'm like, okay, run in place. All right. And I have that bored attitude. Of course, it sets the precedent. What about if I lead by example and run with them? Who could run faster than me? They all want to run faster than you. If you run faster than me, I'm going to do 10 push-ups. Who wants to see Professor do 10 push-ups? Okay, run faster than me. Faster, 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 right? You want to get that heart rate up. That's one of the primary reasons we're warming up people. Get the heart rate up, oxygenate the muscles. Now, I'm not saying this from a martial artist perspective. I'm saying this from sitting 4 days with the National College of Sports Medicine, getting this certification and learning exercise adherence, and the proper things to do, just like in the adult classes. Compensate for the contraindications. If my adults are doing jumping jacks and somebody has a bad lower back, guess what? They're just simply stepping from side to side, right foot, left foot. Nobody's jumping. And I make it okay. Because in those classes where you have a mixed group of adults who might have some kind of pre-existing condition, guess what? You demonstrate the lowest impact version first. So why don't we apply that to our kids' warm-up? What's the lowest impact version of a push-up? Sitting on your knee like a black belt, pushing this way, bending my arms, pushing this way, bending my arms. Next one, hold it in a plank. Next one, do the push-up from your belly, pushing up. Next one, do a push-up on your knees. Next one, do a full-on push-up. You see where I'm going with that? And I'm guilty of that too. I'm guilty of that too. I dismiss that kids don't need to warm up. It's not a big deal. They're already pliable. They probably did PE at school today. So let's get to the heart and soul of the class, which is the curriculum. I'm guilty of it too. So we've established that, right? We have established the value of why doing a push-up and a jumping jack needs to be there. Sit-ups, not so much. Everything I asked ChatGPT, every research I did, and I'm huge on research. You know why? Because I'm famous in my own freaking mind. That's it. I believe it's my way is the best way, and it's the good way, and it's the only way, and it's, feeds my insecurity that this is the base, grandest, best work. I've abandoned that years ago. When I spoke at Harvard, And there was a professor before me, and he kept talking about case study, case study, case study. Most of what Harvard does is based upon case study. It's studying something that's already happened that leaves clues for success and failure that you can draw upon to make an educated guess. Okay, so ask ChatGPT, what is it that kids need to do to warm up properly? Right? And you're right, Conrad. Number one is set the tone, sets the tone of the class, right? Oh, that was James. Hey, what's up, Chris? Chris Cameron. How are you, sir? Shizuoka. Ah, I didn't know it was Shizuoka all this time. New Zealand. We got New Zealand in the house. How lucky are we? How lucky are we? We got Chris Cameron all the way from New Zealand. Thank you, sir, for being here. Even with the time difference, I appreciate you so much. I'm grateful that you're here. So we got that. So please promise me, write this down. You will make sure you teach them to properly do a jumping jack and a push up. Okay? At least that. Now, when it comes to sit ups, I was looking at the class yesterday. 90% of people don't do sit-ups properly. So, what can take place of a sit-up that will build their core strength? Anybody know? Anybody know? And again, I researched this. I asked ChatGPT. I looked at a couple of, very credible kid-centric websites on warm-ups. Anybody know what they are? Anybody? Anybody? Come on. It's a real simple one. And what I love about it, when they lay on their back for a sit up, I think it takes a lot of the energy out of the class. And this doesn't really happen at a young age, but I do know in adult classes, there's a thing called blood pooling. Blood pooling. So when you're constantly standing, going to the ground, standing, going to the ground, the blood can pool, which pulls away from the brain, and people can get lightheaded. It's not so much with young kids, but again, the purpose of the warm up is to warm them up. And if I'm putting them down on their back to do, a sit up frequently, that's not a good day. So, what takes place of that? Does anybody know? The plank, you're right, Chris. The plank is wonderful for the abs. And we did that when we did the push up because we know to do a proper push up, right, Chris? It's not with the arms. A proper push up is an all over body workout. Did you know that? It is. Because to do a push up properly, think of the up position when you're pushing up. First, you engage the legs. Then you engage the lower body through the buttocks, the lower abs, the lower back. Then you engage the pectoralis major, which is the chest. And ironically, the last thing that pushes up are the arms. Did you know that? Think about it for a moment. If you're all laying on your belly like this, it's not, and that's why kids do this. They use only the arms. So see the upper body do this on a push up. No, if a kid was on his belly, he lifted his shin part of his legs first, then the thigh part, then the lower back and the buttocks, then the chest. The arms are actually last in that push up. That way, the whole body's engaged and the arms just finish that push up. Yeah, and then when I first time I learned that, I said, this makes perfect sense to me why kids are always just moving the upper body up and down, and only using the arms because they don't have the awareness yet to engage the whole body on the up portion of a push-up. So you're right, a plank is really good, but there's actually another one. It's called knee-ups. Think from not running, but from a standing position, they're pulling their knees all the way up into their chest. One knee, then the other. One knee, then the other. Now they're not running because then that takes away from it, but they're bringing that knee all the way up. They're called knee-ups. And I like it. You know why I like it? And why I'm going to write it into our warm-up? Because it's the beginning of a front kick. It's the beginning of several kicks, right? If we think about it. So a knee up will satisfy the beginning of developing core strength as well as begin to assimilate some of the moves they're going to do in class. So be mindful of that. I know they might be working on this block and curriculum has nothing to do with the warm-up things of that nature, but I believe there's fundamental things we can all do, right? To mimic the moves we're going to be doing that day as a martial artist, be it a front kick, be it reverse punches, something of that nature. It can be there. So knee ups are going to take the place of a sit up. Even leg raises are really, really hard for a 4 and 5-year-old, right? So even leg raises. So by letting parents know, okay, we're going to do knee ups, one knee, then the other, right? This is the beginning of a sit up because it's developing your child's core strength. That's powerful. That's powerful. That's parents sitting in the waiting area. They get it. They get it. They get it. Okay, they get it. They get it. Now, what have we started with? So, number one, running in place, not around the room. I'm going to tell you why. It's better to run around in a circle if they're 4 years old sometimes, because that's what they know, right? No little kid's going to run in place. It doesn't happen. When does any kid run in place? If they're going to run, they're going somewhere, right? They're going somewhere. The problem with that is when the kids are running in a circle, right? Like fish in a tank. The thing is, though, they can run in different directions. It's not the easiest thing to crowd little kids and get them to run in a circle. But in our excellent kids class, which is 3 and 4 year olds, the parents right there by their side. So it can be done. But understand that when you ask a child to run in place, it's got to be about 6 years old. Anybody younger is going to jet off and start running around the room. So please stay on your black dot and run in place like me. Remember, kids learn by visual cues. And they don't learn by me talking, they learn by doing at that age. So if I say, who could stay on their black dot like me and run like me in place, they're more likely to stay on that dot than run around the room. So that's another way to mitigate that. So running in place would be the first thing I'd recommend. Now, in the old days, we did all floor work, everything standing up, then finish with floor work. I don't recommend that with kids because blood pooling is not really a major issue. In my adult classes, my fitness classes, it's a huge issue. So we do all the standing stuff first, right? And we start out even our fitness classes. They run in place, they do jumping jacks, they do jump squats. Everybody know what a jump squat is? That's where your feet are apart shoulder width, you bend your knees, you touch the ground, you jump up and touch the sky. And of course, I would say, hey, lowest impact version, touch the ground, touch the sky. Please don't jump. Take care of those knees. Touch the ground, touch the sky. So with kids, though, it's okay. So jump squats are great as well. Plank is great. Another one is called hill climbers. Does everybody know what a hill climber is? You're fundamentally in a plank position and they're running. They're running from a plank position, bringing their knees into their chest. Hill climbers also work the abs. They work the lower back. They are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Is it harder for young kids to do? Yes. But we say stay in your push-up position and bring your knees into your chest like me. So I think that's the other thing I witness a lot that I'm going to challenge all of us on as instructors, right? Stop being lazy. You are the example for the kids to follow. You standing there barking orders is about as inspiring as dirt. Oh, did I say that? Oh, did I touch a sensitive spot? I know. I taught 5 classes yesterday. I get it. Thursday's my teaching day. Believe me, the last thing I want to do in the third, fourth hour is do the warm up. I know, you guys, I know. But I understand, like Conrad said, it sets the tone of the class. Yeah, burpees are great too. But again, that age group, the younger kids, I could get them to do burpees at about 9, 10 years old. But below that, Chris, it's really hard for them. It really, really is. So in light of a burpee, we call them gorilla rock lifts for the young ones. They bend their knees, they pretend they're picking up a big rock, and then they throw it up to the sky. So, it's the beginning of a burpee, right? Jump squats are a beginning of a burpee. They're just simply not going out to the push-up position. So that's the only real difference. And I'm mindful because some of my adults can't do burpees. It's a bad day. It's a really bad day. But do I think burpees are sweet for kids that 9 to 17, 18? Absolutely. Absolutely. But see, the thing is, in some of those upper classes, I know we're talking about kids. I don't hesitate to demonstrate 3 different versions. I'll tell that guy with the bad knees, okay, all I want you to do is squat and touch the ground. Please don't jump. Just bring your hands above your head. I'll see that 18-year-old kid. Come on, I want a full-on burpee. Boom, touch the ceiling, right? I see another person, they go down, they walk out one leg, they walk out the other leg to a push-up position. They slowly do the push-up, they push back up, they walk in one leg, they walk in the other. You know what I do to them? I praise them. I praise them for the effort. I praise them for working with what they got. I praise them for that. So I think that type of mentality should carry over to our kids' classes as well. You see somebody struggling through a push-up, don't get on them for doing it wrong. Praise them for the effort. Remember, it's the effort because eventually that effort will lead to success. But if already we're criticizing, putting down people for not being able to do it, there's no inspiration there. I'll even look at someone who's doing a push-up, maybe not correct, but giving their best effort. I'll say, wow, look at the effort little Johnny's giving on that push-up. Who could show me as much effort as Johnny? Something as basic as that. Because yes, we're warming up that class, the kids' class, but going back to Conrad for a minute, we're setting the tone. We are setting the tone of that class. Are you with me? So I want to be extremely mindful of that, the purpose of that warm up. So let me kind of review my newest version and where we're going with that. Okay. So, and we have this, oh God, this is such a game changer. We have a clock that sits right in the instructor's view, a digital clock with a second hand. Now it's not a second hand anymore because it's not a regular clock, but it's the equivalent of a second hand. So they can see and they can count that down. In the old days, one person would count 1 to 8, the next person counts 1 to 8, the next person, and that became a huge distraction. So what we do is we look at that clock, and I'm challenging my guys more and more and more and more on this, right? Because I believe a warm-up should be tight and right, because the bulk of the class is spent learning, practicing, and drilling whatever the curriculum stripe may be, right? So I'm a stickler that the warm-up, the bow in, we still meditate. I'm going to tell you why. And then we do a live talk. All of that should be no more than 8 minutes. It's a 45 freaking minute class. And when I look up at that clock, and there's been those days, and we're 15 minutes into the class, that's a bad day. That's a bad day. So the warm up and live talk and all that should take no more than 5 to 8 minutes. Write it down. Discipline when you structure your warm up to be within that. Okay. And again, using common fitness things, especially in your beginning class and stuff, is really important. I watch this one jujitsu warm up and I'm going, there's no freaking way a white belt can do that. Why do you have them doing that? They're failing all day long. They're failing all day long, right? So I want to be mindful of that as they progress through the ranks, year 3 warm up, it could be different than beginners. Year 4, absolutely. And that gives them something to look forward to. It gives them a challenge. It gives them a goal. But again, I think the awareness and the mindfulness that accompanies that follows suit. So let's stay with the beginner in year 1, okay? Because who am I dealing with, right? Who am I dealing with? I don't normally get a 5-star athlete. I get a kid who's watched too many video games and on devices too much. They're shy. They have no confidence, and they're probably not at a high level of fitness. So, we had them start with running in place. Or if I saw that day, we'd start with knee-ups. Okay, everybody, let's get warmed up. Let's do some knee-ups. Awesome. Okay, now let's run in place. Awesome. Let's run a little faster, a little faster, a little faster. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Make the plank. So they let that heart rest for a second. They get into the plank. Who can hold it? Who can hold it? But that countdown, when I'm looking up at that digital clock, we learned in fitness by counting things down. What does that teach people? Anybody know? When you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what does that teach people? Do you know? Yeah, and that's fine too. Bob's saying he has them do animal movements. That's, super cool. I forgot what it's called. Melody Johnson has a psychological term, but it's, when you associate it with something they know, like a monster truck or a character on SpongeBob, or in this case, an animal. Perfectly fine, Bob. Perfectly fine. And because when you say jumping jack, they're like, what the heck's that? But if you say, let's do a teddy bear jumping jack, they can relate to it. Sure. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. 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 So answer that question. Can anybody answer that question for me? No? Okay. Let's move forward then. It's super important as we're running through this warm up that you visualize what that looks like. So the countdown, it lets them know. Oh, wait, let's see. When we count down, they put in more effort. Thank you, Jason. They do, because you know why? They know it's coming to an end, right? The last 100 yards of a marathon. In a fitness class, you count down. In 5, they start punching harder. They start kicking harder, right? Neurobics. Thank you, Virginia. Appreciate that. Neurobics. Thank you, ma'am. And so for me, it's important. And I use more in my EK class. We don't do it so much in youth karate, but the first stretch in our excellent kids class is reach for the stars, right? To get that all over body stretch. The best stars are up super high. Get that star, put it in your pocket. Who could reach for the stars? Put them in your pocket. Reach for the star, put them in your pocket, right? That's one that we do. Another one we do is frog squat stretch, where they squat. I mean, we have animal names for all of them. We have giraffe stretch, frog stretch. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I'm an advocate of that, but at some point we have to give way, right? That has to give way with the older kids. Now, so the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is two things for me. I'm looking at my clock, obviously, so I'm paying attention to how long they should be doing this. I can't tell you sometimes, the guys will be doing a jumping jack and the instructor turns and starts talking to his assistant. And I'm like, what the heck's going on here? They've been doing jumping jacks for a minute. What are we doing? Because he's pre-framing or forgot to pre-frame or did something, he's talking to an assistant, and that's not a good day. So that clock keeps me on point. That clock gives me a reason not to go off and talk to one of my assistants. That clock lets me know to count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, jumping jacks, go, right? And I can lead into that and change it up. And that's borrowed from the fitness industry. And I didn't create that. I learned it many, many moons ago, why they count down in aerobics classes. God, I still call it aerobics classes, and why that goes. Chris, classic. The kids love is start the countdown and then forget where you are and start it again. I like that, sir. It's kind of fun, right? 5, 4, 3. Oh, what number was I on? Oh, 5. I've done that. It's fun, right? It's really fun, especially if the kids aren't counting in class and we need them to count. I don't say, well, if you don't count, we're going to start again. I'm counting. Then I go, oh, what number was I on? Oh, okay. Can you guys help me, please? So that way I don't lose my place. I'm getting old. Right? I've done that. It's perfect, Chris. I love it. Love good stuff, Chris. Good stuff. Good stuff. So the countdown is something I'd recommend in your warm-up. Definitely. And once they get conditioned to what it means, all the kids will get it and they'll do it. Cool? All right. So we always start with knees up or running in place. Okay. Then we go to the plank. Then we do jumping jacks. After jumping jacks, then we do an actual push-up, because it's better, to me, it's not how many push-ups they do, it's how many push-ups they do well, right? Super important. So maybe after the plank, the next time they go down, we do push-ups on their knees, depending upon the age group. Next time they do 1 full push-up. Next time we do 2. Next time we do 3. We're taking out a lot of the other push-ups, like I said, the wrist push-ups and all that, because nobody does them well. I do, and I'm the only freaking person who's living in that historical time when everybody did wrist push-ups, and I can do 3-finger push-ups like this. Big freaking deal. That's really going to help me, right? So I want to be mindful of that. It's more important they do them correctly. And once muscle fatigue sets in, they're going to do them wrong. They're going to do them wrong. So what about a progression of plank to doing it, push-ups on your knees, to doing a regular push-up and then add on to them incrementally, right? As we do that. And then after the jumping jacks, the plank, we'll do jump squats is a big one. We like jump squats. We'll do from that push-up position going into hill climbers with your knees in your chest, as well as plank jacks. That's being in a push-up position doing jumping jacks, right? The feet apart together, apart together, apart together. The purpose is it works the core strength, it gets the heart rate up and gets them pliable. Now, let's move into the stretch. Again, they're pretty pliable, so we keep our stretches really, really simple, really simple. Everybody in the class reaches. The first thing I learned, which I never thought was a freaking stretch, was when you reach all the way up like this, it stretches the whole body all the way down. And then you do the other side, and then you do the other side. And the adults will do this one and this one, right? Because we do all the punching. But really, for the kids, we swim backwards, we swim forwards. But let me put the little piece in there. When we did that warm up, we throw in reverse punches and front kicks. Because again, anytime you can mimic some of what they're going to be doing in the actual class that day of learning, it's a good day. So in some of our upper classes, we won't hesitate to go, okay, we earned that yellow stripe last week. We're starting orange one this week. Let's remind ourselves and use our yellow stripe for a warm up. We've done that too, which I think is fine if it keeps the energy up and they're getting that heart rate up, right? Doesn't have to be perfect. Just keep that heart rate up. Now, moving back to that stretch. I think the big thing with the stretch to make it cohesive for my team is we work from the top down. So we all do this, right? We do the arms back, arms forward, feet apart, shoulder width. Then we call it hula hula, where they're doing hip circles, right? Circle one way, circle another. Now, this one I got from Dave Cover, and I'm going to tell you honestly, has saved my knees for decades, right? Feet together, big toes touching, bend your knees a little bit, hands on your knees. And we call them wobbly knees. We even sing a song. We go wobbly knees, wobble, 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 wobbly knees. I know it's silly, but what Dave Kovar taught me, and when I researched it, it gets the synovial fluids working in the knees. Go figure, right? Go figure. It does. So after we do the knees, then we get into the legs because of the stances and the stretching. So that's why I like the frog squat. That's where the feet are apart, shoulder width, turned out at a 45-degree angle. You squat, and then you take your arms this way, putting one on its inside of each of the knees because it's pushing out against the hip abductors, stretching out that part, and it somewhat mimics part of a horse stance. So I do like that. Then we have a giraffe stretch. We stand tall, feet shoulder width apart, reach straight up to the sky. And we had to correct it because everybody goes into the splits. So you have to be very mindful to get them shoulder width apart, reach up to the sky and then touch your toes. Who could do without bending their knee? Then we move the right foot out. And I saw this last night. It was so cool. It's called a side lunge stretch, but it's one of the old school martial arts stretches, right? You see it a lot in Kung Fu and everything. They move that one right foot out. They bend the right knee. The left leg is perfectly straight, but they're flat on both feet. It's called a side lunge stretch. But we grew up, it's what we did in some of our forms of stuff. Then we turn them to the right completely, and they're in what's called a lunge position, and they get both their elbows on the ground. Again, we're trying to loosen these legs up. Why am I more for static stretches versus dynamic stretches? Because I want to accomplish your goal, get it done, right? And make sure that I'm doing what needs to be done. The problem with dynamic stretches, which a lot of schools like to use, what is that? Swinging the leg straight up in the air. That's a dynamic stretch. That would be an example. Doing those lunges, right leg switch, left leg switch, right leg switch. So the only challenge with that with the younger children, risk of injury, doing things inappropriately, and mitigating the whole purpose of that stretch. So I find, and that's why I try to keep it short. And I watched a great Taekwondo class, and they were going 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next person. And they switch to the next stretch. 8, 7, 6, 5. See, you don't need to hold it that long. And I had a big debate with somebody about that. They said, well, I'm a PT person. Your stretch is all wrong. I said, why? Because you have to hold it for at least 15 seconds for it to have any impact. I said, who's the majority of people you work on in PT? Well, adults. Well, do you have any data on kids you can share with me? Right? So we try to do it for about an 8 count or 8 seconds, but they're all static stretches because I want to fulfill the requirement and get them stretched out. But I can move through our stretch. If you think, 8 seconds per stretch, and we have roughly, 10 different positions, there you go, 80 seconds. 80 seconds is not long. That's only a minute, or so. So a minute and 20 seconds. So again, be mindful. Kids are pretty pliable, right? They're pretty pliable, but you want them to get into good health habits. And stretching is a very, very good health habit. Plank up to press up and back to plank is the killer. Yeah, that one's good too. Again, is it age appropriate for someone who's 6, right? I'm always mining that data. That's important to me, Chris, because again, I can go down the YouTube and watch billions of, different warm-ups and stretches for kids, from a soccer coach to a football coach to a basketball coach, and then say, okay, universally, what are all of them doing, right? And if they all do somewhat of the same one, and then I look at ChatGPT and say, what are the top 10 exercises for kids between 6 and 11? I look at that one too. And then maybe I go to a leading child psychiatrist website to say that, okay, a great warm-up for kids that, that might suffer from anxiety, or is this. On and on. I mean, I want to mine as much data as possible to at least offer an educated guess, other than, we've been doing it this way for 50 years. It's the way we've always done it. Oh, man, that's so lame. And I've been victim of that too. I even say it with a sarcastic voice because I've done it, Chris. I've done that. I simply dismiss thinking and people and new ways of doing things. Why? Because my way is better, because it's always been done this way. My teacher taught me this way, and his teacher taught him this, so we're going to do it. We do it. We have that one, a really hard push up. I'm the only one, I think, in the whole freaking school who can do it because I've been doing it since I was 5. That's it. So that's nothing to be proud of. I'm supposed to help people live their best life. My purpose is to help students live their best life. How do I do that? Well, by helping them be successful, by helping them get physically stronger, by building their confidence. I don't do that by going side by side with you, on this really eccentric push up, right? And then show off that I can do this push up and you can't. And I've done that back in the day, right? I've done that back in the day. So again, always mining that data to create this really amazing warm up that your team is going to get behind too. And already some of them are wrinkling their nose going, we're not going to do wrist push-ups anymore. And we're not going to do the extended. I said, well, we've had these schools 25 years and the majority of people still can't do those push-ups. Maybe they're not skill level or age level specific, right? Maybe they just aged out. Majority of the population used to smoke cigarettes back in the day and they're not today. So again, I think what I've learned about running businesses is this little side note for everybody is that great companies that are around, I mean, legacy businesses that are here decade after decade after decade. And I can say from in my own upbringing, my father's school has been there for 55 years and it's still open. I found out my brother reopened it after my father passed. We've had the one in San Francisco for going on 25 years. This year will be our 25th anniversary, and we had Millbrae for 10. And remember, we're not a club. We did $1.965 million last year. That's a lot for 2 schools. It's not the norm. There's schools out there doing that, right? I have friends that are doing those kinds of number. But again, the majority of our industry is not. So I know we must be doing something right to be in the 1% of earners in our industry. And I think what that is, studying, legacy businesses, let's look at Apple. How long has Apple been around? Since the 70s or something, right? Could you imagine if we were still on iPhone version 1? Right? I'm not a tech company. No, but we're a business that wants to become a legacy business. We must be relevant, right? We must be relevant. So another thing, as we're revamping the curriculum, I want to put basic, solid self-defense techniques in there. I got away from it because I didn't care for a lot of the self-defense in Kenpo. You do 1,000 moves on this guy and some of them wouldn't work under any circumstance, right? But it was drilled in our head. Self-defense number 1. But why am I hitting this guy 50 different ways and ripping his groin while he's on his back? And then I stomp on his groin. And Kenpo, groin, right? I stomped on his groin. I ripped his groin. And then I'm going to stomp on it 10 more times. And then I'm going to poke him in the eye while he's laying flat on his back. So we got away from it for a while, but I really want to dig deep on all my life experience in the martial arts and create just very fundamental things. Cover up, right? That's a good day if someone's trying to hit you in the head and you don't know any martial arts, you're a beginner. Cover up, right? Just really basic stuff from a wrist grab, a disarm. So, I want that to be there. I really, really need that to be there. And for me, that's very important, right? That's very important. Wow, Marco's putting some numbers in here. What number is that about, Marco? And what value is that? The annual revenue of martial arts schools in the United States vary significantly. Okay, such as membership, blah, 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 blah. Here's a breakdown revenue by membership size. Under 50 members, approximately $30,000 annually. I would assume that's take home, right? After bills and everything. 50 to 172,000. 102 members, 154. They're roughly 260K annually. Over 300 members, approximately 300 annually revenue by discipline. Oh, okay. That must be take home, right? I'm sure that's take home. Right? Tell me it is, Marco. That's annual revenue. Is that net or profit, right? Gross. Wow. I don't know where those numbers come from. I can show you my numbers. You want to see them? So that's what we did last year. But if that's what the industry's saying, I think that might be martial arts classes. They might not be taking in after school day camps and different things. So are you with me on all that, folks? What we're really discussing today, now that your eyes are wide open, is what does it take? Conrad said it well. It sets the tone of the class. Virginia added in neurobics, which I think is great. I hope I'm saying that right. We added in age appropriate, skill level appropriate. We added in the fundamental fitness things that parents who've never done martial arts view. I'm very challenged when someone's doing some weird warm up and they say this is a kung fu northern, southern, south, and I'm going, but my God, that doesn't even look like a warm up. And you want to put that in your Facebook ad and sell it as fitness. I'm sorry, it does not show fitness. Whether it's a kickboxing video, a kids class, we always show jumping jacks and push-ups. Universally, you see a jumping jack, it's accepted as fitness, right? So I do want to teach that. And again, this is my take. I want that child to have self-confidence when they try out for a soccer team, baseball team, flag football, anything, that they can walk in there and do a push-up and a jumping jack well, especially in a society where the majority of the kids are not healthy, they're out of shape, and they spend too much time on devices. So I'm going to double back. And instead of doing 50 different kinds of push-ups, we're going to take that push-up, break it down, start with the plank, do it on their knees, do it one good push-up at a time instead of 50 lousy ones, and build upon that. I want them to be able to do a good push-up. I don't think that's asking too much. But it is if your warm-up plus the live talk is 5 to 8 minutes, tight and scripted, and you're trying to do 50 different push-ups. You with me? And that's going back to the age-old Bruce Lee saying, I don't fear a man that knows 10,000 different kicks. I fear a man that's done one kick 10,000 times. It's the same thing here. I'd rather you do one great push-up than 10 different push-ups lousy. Cool. So put in your big takeaways today. I love you guys. This has been a wonderful, wonderful show today. It's good to see people I care about like Virginia here and Monique and Jason. Marco, great, great facts. Thanks for that. That's a new thing. Marco's never really done that, but I like it. I think that's added value. So keep doing that kind of stuff, Marco, in there. Great, Chris. Thank you for tuning in from New Zealand, sir. That just warms my heart today. Conrad, haven't seen you in a while. Again, be safe in LA. James at Resilient. Love you, sir. Bob, always. Bob is a staple from Goals Martial Arts. The big thing I'm going to ask you to do as my birthday wish is that you share these things with, my birthday's in a week, by the way, is to share this with as many people as you can. I really believe in my work in a decade as working as the anti-consultant, as I call it at this point. I've been able to really help people that need it the most, right? And the hardest needle to move is somebody who has 30 students. You come to me as a consultant with 300 to 400, that's a couple of tweaks, and you're at 500 tomorrow, right? But when you come to me with a set mindset and you've been stuck at 30 to 50 students for a decade, that's a rough road to hoe. It's a really, really rough road to hoe. But I love the challenge because as Marco showed the data, the majority of our industry is made up of the mom and pop single school owners. And I love it because I am a third generation small business owner. My grandma owned little coffee shops. My dad owned a martial arts school, never more than one. He only opened one. And here I am with two of them doing it in an extraordinary, disruptive way. And I hope that inspires you. If you're famous in your own mind and you believe you have perfect attrition and everybody stays, but after a decade you have 100 students, I got to challenge you on that, right? I got to challenge you. If I think one way, I get the same results. If I'm willing to open my mind and empty my cup, then the potential is unlimited. Cool? Cool, cool, cool. All right. What does that say? Because Master Ken says stomp the groin. He does, huh, James? So let's begin by thanking our sponsors. We got Tusa, Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills. If you need a life skills, reach out to Marco or myself, and we'll get you set up with Kids Love Life Skills. LC Accounting, Kin Creative, all companies I use, all people I have personal relationships with, all people I trust, all people that I believe in. And for me, that's how I do business. Because it's not business, it's my life. And I'm not going to spend it with people I don't like, people that I don't share the same values with, just because we make each other money. I think that's the worst reason to do that, because you can turn a blind eye to people's behavior because they make you money. That's not cool. Or you're going to listen to a consultant because they make more money than you. Well, guess what? There's drug dealers out there that make a lot more money than every consultant in our industry. I have no desire to listen to them, right? So be mindful of that. These are people I love and believe in with my heart and soul. The It's Time group mentoring, I think I shared that, and this is a small example. We have weekly calls. You have us in your back pocket. I find the challenge with going to a convention once a year, information in, information out. You do a once a month mastermind call, again, out of sight, out of mind. But knowing you to have the confidence of having us in your back pocket 24/7, 365, whether it's what color should I paint this wall, to what type of mats I should get, to this mom I'm having challenges with, right? To how do I start saving money for my retirement? All of those things we address on a daily basis. And for me, that's really when the needle moves, when you have somebody you have the confidence in reaching out to on a daily basis, knowing that they're going to support you in creating your version of success. So I love the team. It's Type Group Mentoring. Reach out to Marco, Jason, Monique, and they'll be happy to invite you to a discovery call so you can check it out, see what we're all about. Cool. And then It's Time Life Freedom, 20 school owners, November 8th through 11th. It books out every year. It'll book out again this year. The question is, are you going to be one of the people who are there? Post that link for them, Marco, if you can find it. And people, make the investment now. You are your own best investment. Make that investment right now. Cool? All right. What a great show today, folks. I'm so grateful to each one of you who choose to spend your time with me. What a blessing. What a blessing. What a blessing. As I approach my next birthday, I wake up every day and somebody asks me, what are you doing? And I said, I'm practicing gratitude, right? I'm practicing gratitude. And I'm ever mindful of that, especially when I'm going through a difficulty in my business, is if I can find something to be grateful for in that challenge, I'm more likely to find a resolution. If I find gratitude in my bum knee, I'm more likely to still work out through that injury, right? There's a great saying, I complained I had no shoes until I saw a man with no feet. So again, gratitude for me is one of the core values of my business, my personal life, everything that I do, everything that I do. Hey, Norm, I didn't see you there, Norm. That's all right, Norm. Hey, Jonathan, what's happening? Go back and watch this one, Norm, okay? Go back and watch this. So gratitude is the foundation of my life. And I'm grateful to each one of you for choosing to spend your time with us today. Thank you, Marco, for holding down the helm there, buddy. As always, I love you and appreciate you. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, what are you going to go out there and do? Live your best life.